Welcome to the Mission to the China podcast. Welcome back again, our lovely listeners. You are now with May Awasada
and me, Ploy Patharanan.
in the Mission to the Greater China podcast.
Yes, this is our first episode in 2021, opening up with the second hard wave of the great pandemic COVID-19, as you know. How are you doing now, everyone? And how are you, May, today?
I'm good.
Okay. We both are having a quite weird situation since we have to record this episode separately in our own house through Zoom. So the sound quality might not be as good as when we are in the studio. So we apologize for that.
So let's begin. Today, our topic is about one of the world's largest telecommunication company called Huawei. There were so many skeptics and questions raised by public related to the company tied with PLA, its management transformation, its future path, and etc. What will be the analysis and prediction we get from doing several researches on this brand? Let's find out. Firstly, before going into more details, we would like to introduce you the background of the brand in the upcoming video. Let's take a look.
Innovation is a long-term project, a marathon, not a sprint. And while some former leaders have fallen behind or dropped out of the race entirely, Huawei has taken the lead, growing from a tiny startup to a global maker of telecom gear and smart devices. Why did Huawei prosper and grow to become an industry leader? For one thing, we invest more than 10% of our annual revenue into R&D. We started back in the early 90s, putting all our extra money into making our first digital switch. Before mobile came along, that switch was used in fixed-line networks, allowing more than 500 million people to make calls and get online. Our distributed base stations, featuring a breakthrough reduced footprint, have become an industry standard worldwide over the past 15 years. In 2008, we developed Single RAN, a single radio access network. For the first time, operators could maintain one telecommunications network to support multiple generations of mobile technology. Later, we became a leading provider of 5G wireless technology. Today, we provide fast mobile internet to 3 billion people around the world. It wasn't always easy. During the 3G era, we lost out because we bet on a standard that didn't get approved in China for 9 years. We considered giving up our device business because it was not making money. With perseverance, Huawei has become a leading global smartphone brand. Even in 2001, when the dot-com bubble burst, we continued to invest more than 10% of our revenue in R&D, and our commitment to investing in innovation has only grown stronger. By 2018, we were the number 5 investor in R&D worldwide, not just in the tech industry, but in any industry. Last year, we increased our R&D spending by 28%. Only Google and Amazon spend more. Over the past 10 years, we've put more than $90 billion into R&D. Roughly half of our 190,000 employees work in some type of research and development. That's made us one of the biggest intellectual property holders in the world. Huawei is one of the largest holders of standard essential patents for 4G and 5G. We share our patented innovations through cross-licensing agreements with other leading companies. When we use the IP of other companies, we pay to license that technology. Since 2001, we've paid more than $6 billion in royalties, 80% of which went to U.S. companies. Huawei's success comes down to one thing. We view innovation as a marathon, a race won only by those willing to go the distance. Plenty of tech companies have come and gone over the past 30 years. Meanwhile, Huawei has grown into a company with annual sales revenue of more than $120 billion. And BCG just ranked us the 6th most innovative company in the world. As we enter a new digital era, the ICT industry will need R&D more than ever. Huawei will continue to play a role as an innovation leader that helps connect the world.
For this slide, I will share about the timeline of Huawei throughout the decades in following steps like this. Firstly, I will show you that the brand was first founded in 1987 by former Deputy Regimental Chief in the People's Liberation Army Engineering Corps. Renzhenghui in Shenzhen, China. The company decided to expand into metropolitan China in 1997, and during 1997 to 1999, Huawei has set up its R&D center in Bangalore, India, and expand to Russia as Beta Huawei in 1999. By 2000, Huawei exported to Asia and Africa region, and the company also established the R&D center in Stockholm, Sweden, as well as a research institution in Russia in the same year. And during 2000 to 2004, Huawei started a penetration into America and Europe market. In early 2004, they became a joint venture with Siemens and had their first significant European contract win with Telfort, Netherlands, at the end of the same year. By 2005, Huawei became a telecom supplier from Vodafone in Spain and Czech Republic, won a contract with British Telecom, which allowed them to provide telecom equipment in UK. The company established a joint R&D center in Shanghai with Motorola and was a Vodafone's partnership to distribute phone in 21 countries in 2006. And in 2007, Huawei partnered up with all top operator in Europe and was a joint venture with Symantec. Huawei introduced the first LTE network in Oslo, Norway for Telia Sonera in 2009. While in 2010, the trend of cheaper mobile phone risen in the domestic market, which made Huawei have to put more effort in developing their mobile phone and marketing strategy. And 2 years after, Huawei again established the R&D center in Finland, Germany, and Sweden, followed by launching medium and high-end smartphone in 2014. Huawei began to establish a 5G R&D center in 9 countries. By 2015, more than 140 capital cities have installed the LTE network, and over 100 million Huawei smartphones was shipped globally. In 2016, Huawei was not only entered the laptop market by releasing Huawei MateBook series, but the company also launched their first world AI artificial intelligence device to the world. After a decade of operating its business in the US, the US federal government has banned Huawei and another Chinese brand, ZTE equipment, regarding security concern. During this sanction, Huawei was working with an in-house operating system codenamed Hongmeng OS or Harmony OS, which could be used as their plan B if they were forbidden from using Android or Windows OS, something like that. And finally, in 2020, the US has extended the ban to cover semiconductor who supply the processor chip to Huawei, as their products were made by US technology. And this is all timeline that I would like to show you how Huawei began with the business and how they come from today.
So next, Huawei is an independent, privately held company that provides information and communications technology to derive it as ICT, with integrated solutions across several domains, which are consumer products. They have smartphones, smartwatch, wearables, PC, and etc. And also carrier products like wireless and fixed network, IT infrastructure, cloud core network, even 5G network. Moreover, they also have enterprise products such as switch, router, and server to provide solutions for vertical industry and enterprise customers worldwide. With leading ICT technologies and capabilities, Huawei works with global partners to launch government solutions covering a range of services such as traffic management, emergency response, customs, taxation, and more. These solutions integrate government service processes with technologies such as cloud computing, big data, artificial intelligence or AI, and intent-driven networks or IDNs to improve government work efficiency and the overall level of public services. For fully connected rail transportation, Huawei released its Urban Rail Light Cloud 5G Digital Indoor System DIS solutions for next general rail wireless communications at the UITP Global Public Transport Summit in 2019. Under the name Cloud-Based Urban Rail, the Art of Mobility, the company outlined how a new breed of ICT solutions will enable an era of fully connected digital rail transportation. The solutions deliver cloud-based services, broadband connectivity, and better connected digital railway to help rail operators build safer, smarter, and more efficient rail transportation systems, continuously improve transportation capacity, and drive service innovations. Huawei has established R&D centers around the world to integrate global ICT talent for continuous innovation. 16 R&D centers, 31 joint innovation centers, and 45 training centers worldwide in order to gather market insight for the cost-effective solution. Huawei also has an alliance, created a solution partner program and joint venture with many big companies around the world to strengthen its overseas expansion. Using advanced technologies, including 5G, artificial intelligence, Internet of Things or IoT, cloud computing and big data analytics, smart cities enhance city management and promote technological innovation. Huawei provides a comprehensive smart city service solution integrating high-level planning, design verification, implementation, operations support, optimization, improvement, talent development, and project management. Huawei's service and software provides global carriers with industry-leading secure and reliable end-to-end solutions, covering network planning, construction, O&M optimization, and service operations. Over the past 30 years, Huawei has gradually become one of the world's largest and most advanced service and software providers, with delivery capabilities and resources that are distributed around the world. Knowing the overall background of Huawei, then we'll move to the first question raised by our dearest listener, Professor Wang. The first question is, given Huawei's background, especially its alleged tie with People's Liberation Army or PLA, do you think the company can be successful in turning itself into a Chinese company with a Western management system? Well, to make it clear for other listeners, on a tie with the PLA, rather than the background of Huawei CEO Ren Zhengfei, who is obviously tied with the PLA, as mentioned that he was a former deputy regimental chief of the PLA engineering corps. There were many supporting evidence. For example, a research conducted by Mr. Christopher Balding, an associate professor from Fulbright University, Vietnam, showing that there were many candidates whose background are from PLA, or at least an organization both direct and indirectly linked with the military corps, which the researcher got from several leaked CVs. The most concerned staff that possibly link with the PLA are those key mid-level technical personnel who work closely with intelligence gathering and military activities. These key mid-level staff are possessing dual positions in several segments, helping many projects of the Ministry of State Security to monitor the network flow of information. These staff also have intimate knowledge of both parties, from how they operate the business to the data goldmine of the company. This does not mean that they were directly ordered from the PLA, but this is to show the interception of their acts. Moreover, in the next slides, Huawei workers have teamed up with members of various organs PLA, at least 10 research as reported. They're conducted researches and on AI development and radio communications. Huawei also have a joint effort with the investigation branch of the Central Military Commission. Firstly, to extract and classify emotions in online videos, comments, and initiative with the elite National University of Defense Technology in UDT, where Mr. Yang Guozhi, software engineer at Huawei, who is also worked in dual position as a teaching and research at the university, directly hired by the PLA to explore ways of collecting and analyzing satellite images and geographical coordinates. There are also concerns of Huawei 5G infrastructure, which will give the Chinese government a backdoor to access its inner workings and allow Beijing to attach communication networks and public utilities. Hence, the US has accused the Chinese government could make use of the vague Chinese intelligence laws to force Huawei to hand over that data to them. However, US has not publicly provided evidence on this accusation so far. From above information, this might make you all think that Huawei will be in serious control and monitored by the PLA, as well as the Chinese government that would make them having a traditional way of managing the organization, right? But if they firmly go with the way of management system, then how can the company go global as in present? I will hand over next part to Comply.
Okay, coming back to the question, Huawei has tried to apply the Western management system into their organization by, firstly, hired IBM to implement management structure, which lead to quote state by Ren Zhengfei that chaos was removed and structure enter Huawei. The IBM made a possibility for Huawei to learn from the West by introducing the more global vision, demanded that all employees would adopt the US-based way of looking at business as introduced by IBM. This led to a famous set of their management strategy in the recent years. Firstly, Huawei is really concentrating on their R&D segment, as you may know that. The company invests more than 13.7 billion yuan, roughly USD 19.3 billion in 2019, which accounted for 13.9% of its business revenue in a year. And yes, they're giving shares to employees, not they, but he, Ren Zhengfei. He giving shares to the employee. Most of shares are owned by its employee, and Ren Zhengfei only own 1% in order to create a sense of ownership and royalty that depended in its staff core value toward the company. So the company has set up the strategy of rotating CEO, in which can be described as follows. The company will appoint 3 CEO candidates based on their top performance. Then these 3 candidates have to try acting as a CEO for 6 months. And after completing the period, the company will let their employees set a team as a board based on the election among the employees to select the most appropriate person to formally act as their CEO. Once the result come out, Ren Zhengfei will be the one and only authorized person to sign on the paper for approval. The advantage of this method is the company will get a variety of ideas, strategies from several people, which show the open-minded aspect of the top people. On the other hand, the authority still remain with one person, Ren Zhengfei. And moreover, 6 months is too short to predict the candidate long-term performance. Huawei also pay attention to management level improvement as the company has a policy of requiring this higher level personnel to learn and study new things, then share it with the employees. The company also set up Huawei University, teaching its business solution. Value training camping is also there to transform the people by adopting its core value to the staff. And this is their backbone, I think. Not only Western itself, the company regarding Ren Zhengfei's vision also adopt the Chinese concept on the power of thinking. Since they will never rush or jump to conclusions too fast, he still takes the whole of the power to impeach the acting CEO and board power. And as per his interview, he also valued the power of collectivism in organization as the company could not be successful by individual who lack the sense of collectivism of working as a team. He then mentioned that to be successful on the global scale, all staff, including the top management people, shall broaden their knowledge from the world view. From overall information we have gathered, The company is in a mix between Chinese and Western style since their leadership style is quite supportive and participative as well as having transformational leadership style of setting clear goals for their staff and urging the employee to participate in the company's activities. While the company is still promoting collectivism as per his vision, Vincent Fei and quote in the previous slide, and the power is still centralized. He is the one who authorized person who can sign, who is gonna be the CEO. So this could tell that the company can still keep its characteristic of being a Chinese company, but topping up by the Western management style in order to achieve a worldwide success.
So, moving to the second question we've got from our overseas listeners. Given the severe restraints imposed by the US government, can Huawei succeed as a global company without succeeding in the US market? What do you think, Ploy?
Well, before we go into detailed discussion, I would like to share with you some thought from the video why the US is scared by Huawei. Let's we have a look.
Since December 2018, China's biggest company, Huawei, has been rocked by political and legal turmoil. The Trump administration has been on a campaign to block Huawei from selling equipment for 5G networks in the US and to allies abroad, claiming the company poses a national security threat. Speak to the company's customers and they paint a different picture. To them, Huawei makes reliable, affordable equipment without equal.
I am announcing that a grand jury in Seattle has returned an indictment that alleges 10 federal crimes by 2 affiliates of Telecommunications Corporation Huawei Technologies.
There is clearly a full court press in Washington to make it seem as though Huawei poses a grave threat to the future of Western civilization, literally. And that's why you saw the Commerce Secretary, the FBI Director, and the acting Attorney General of the United States at a press conference for what were really not that serious a charge.
Huawei's recent spat with the US began in December with the arrest of Meng Wanzhou, Huawei's CFO and daughter of the company's founder. Then in January, the US indicted the company for theft of trade secrets, conspiracy, and obstruction of justice stemming from a previous lawsuit brought by T-Mobile. Bloomberg Businessweek discovered that January 28th, the same day as the Attorney General's announcement, the FBI raided a Huawei-owned lab in San Diego under suspicion that it had stolen groundbreaking smartphone glass technology from another firm. But Huawei's troubles aren't anything new, having been accused by Cisco in 2002 and Motorola in 2010 of intellectual property theft. Since 2012, major US telecoms have essentially blackballed Huawei thanks to government pressure, which while damaging, hasn't done much to slow its progress worldwide.
I think it has a lot to do with the specific character of the 5G world. It's going to be far more software driven, which is far more open to very hidden, very subversive, very discreet backdoors that could allow malevolent states or hackers or others to wreak all sorts of havoc.
To this end, Congress has enacted a ban on government agencies and contractors purchasing Huawei equipment.
For the video I just show you and the information that's been mentioned earlier, you would hear that the US government banned Huawei by cutting off Huawei from all suppliers whose products contain US technologies. Some of Huawei's major chip suppliers, including the world's biggest contract chip maker, not only the US but also Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Co., or TSMC, and South Korean memory chip maker Samsung and SK Hynix, who have confirmed that they had to hold orders from the company after September 15 without a license from the US Commerce Department. Hearing this, we should know that this ban are likely to cause a big problem to Huawei as well. But do you think Huawei will give up on this situation? No, not at all. They are finding the way to survive and looking for the opportunity to overcome this big wave. An academician from Chinese Academy of Engineering has said in a forum on China's information technology development that Washington's chip embargo does not mean that Huawei will have no chips to use at all. Although Chinese companies do not have the 7nm and 5nm manufacturing capabilities need to produce the more advanced smartphone chipset. They are capable of producing 28nm and 14nm chips, which are good enough for the most electronics product other than phones. That means only the chip for smartphone would be affected, while that for telecom gears basically would not be affected at all. Huawei can still buy chips from South Korean Samsung, Taiwan's MediaTek, and Shanghai-based fabless semiconductor company Unisoc to produce their mobile phone, even in this situation where the upstream original equipment manufacturer are banned. Huawei has made a sacrifice because it has to be able to produce the chip for long term. It is believed that many chip companies will eventually grow up in the Chinese mainland, while Huawei develop and produce the products from chips provided by manufacturers in Korea, Japan, Europe, and Taiwan, as I mentioned earlier. Before we sum up that Huawei will success as a global company, I would like to show you a SWOT analysis to gain a powerful insight into the tech giant current standing and their future potential. One of the biggest strengths of Huawei is strong R&D team and high caliber employees, which give it edge over its competitors. Huawei is also the global leader in networking equipment and have a technical advantage across telecom value chain. It provides 5G technology commercial deployment. And being based in China, Huawei is able to manufacture and offer products at a lower price, typically 30% lower than those of established suppliers. In addition, with a low-cost workforce, Huawei spend less in R&D but achieve a comparable result with foreign technology companies who spend more. Moreover, Shenzhen First connection with Chinese military enable Huawei to have the support from the Chinese government, which is essential to work in China. For the weakness of Huawei, being a Chinese company, Huawei will be viewed in different light compared to other companies from other countries. In general, the perception was that Chinese vendors were mainly relying on Western engineering methods and were turning the higher margin and complex product into standard commodities. So, Huawei would have to move beyond this to be viewed as a serious global competitors. Huawei lawsuits with Cisco give a rise to issue that Huawei has infringed Cisco patents and copyright by copying its user interface, user manual, and source code, which inevitably affect Huawei reputation in the United States. Looking for the opportunity of Huawei. Once the 5G trend is growing globally, Huawei is the main vendor which can provide infrastructure and other opportunity overall to end user. Also, the rise of AI will revolutionize technology, create a new business opportunity, and change society. India is one of the most popular destinations for smartphone companies, with as many mobile users as the entire population of the United States. If Huawei were able to develop a powerful strategy to enter Indian market, they could see a huge increase in their total revenue figures, given a number of potential customers. For the factor that Huawei should be concerned about is that Huawei might be threatened by mid-low-end smartphone competitors such as Xiaomi, Oppo, Sony, and Lenovo. Also, the US and other fellow countries bans such as Switzerland and Japan.
So in this slides, it shows that Huawei also have a strong belief that an innovation can create invention. Chinese technology giant Huawei invested 131.7 billion yuan or 19.3 billion US dollars in research and development in 2019, accounting for 38.9% of its business revenue in the year. The figure represents 6% of the total R&D expenditure nationwide. surpassing the individual amounts of 25 provinces in China. According to China's National Bureau of Statistics, Huawei has leveraged global resources by setting up R&D branches globally, partnered up with expertise in many fields, integrated its marketing people into its R&D team. So the needs of telephone companies and service providers could be communicated through the marketers to the R&D department in the shortest time. Huawei also got third ranked in the 2020 EU Industrial R&D Investment Scoreboard. While consisting of 16 R&D centers worldwide, they've done agreements with 50 countries worldwide and won 5G bidding, which is the most in the industry right now. According to the China National Intellectual Property Administration, in the first half of the year of 2020, Huawei had been granted 2,772 patents in China, making it the #1 patent holder in Chinese mainland. Coming to another issue, Google. Some may have concern on the issue of Google, stated by Brian Ma, International Data Corporation. Lack of Google service is a big problem for its flagship phone ambitions. Then, even if Huawei succeeds in a global scale while banned by US, but will it still succeed without Google? Huawei setup process provides a useful tool called Phone Clone, where most non-Google apps missing from App Gallery can be transferred from device to device without needing any VPN. Users can use the services such as Instagram and Twitter without downloading them natively. And moreover, Huawei also introduced its new engine called Payload Search. With the new interface, Huawei's users can search for weather updates, news stories, sports, videos, images, and more, providing a For You page to display the algorithm showing new feeds. Gmail users will still be able to access their accounts through Huawei's EMUI 10 email app. The next slides will show that the move also prevented Google from doing business with the Chinese manufacturer, which might have dampened sales of international models. But in China, most of Google's Android apps are banned anyway. Still, the move forced Huawei to develop its own ecosystem, which has turned out to do well received by the users. If any company can create a true rival to Android and iOS, it should be Huawei. As Huawei is a huge, especially in China, which makes them capable of making their own ecosystem, Huawei intended to come up with their own Huawei OS, so-called Harmony OS, for the Internet of Things products, or IoTs. This OS is based on the Linux system, which is an open source operating system. It will help Huawei to get free from any worries on the US ban. Other smartphones could also choose to use this operating system instead of sticking around the Android OS system. To support the previous argument that during the US ban, Huawei is still lead in the telecommunication equipment industry. Huawei's global market share of telecom equipment reached 31% in the first half of this year, overtake Ericsson in 2018 and maintaining its #1 position worldwide, according to a report from Del Oro Group, a leading market analysis and research firm. And in this slide, it shows that Huawei smartphone shipments exceeded 240 million units in 2019, overtaking Apple to become the second best-selling brand worldwide, and then surpassed Samsung to be #1 of the smartphones market in the second quarter of 2020. Even if not depending on the US market, for sure, the 1.4 billion population of Chinese market could still definitely carry the brand. So let's move on to the next question. This is our last question for today, also from our lovely listeners. To what extent do you think Huawei should focus more on China's domestic market or continue to expand overseas aggressively in order to achieve sustainable competitive advantages in the telecommunication equipment and smartphone markets, and why? What do you think, Employ?
Okay, this is an interesting question. And from all our research, we would suggest Huawei to stick with its domestic market, China, to achieve a sustainable competitive advantage in the current market. The reason why we go for remaining in the domestic market is that by looking at the population of Chinese, which exceeds 1.4 billion in 2021, and over 800 million smartphone users in 2019, and still expecting to have a strong growth potential due to relatively low smartphone penetration rate. This is no doubt the biggest market based on Huawei, as shown in the graph that more than 36.9% is dominating by Huawei smartphone, followed by Vivo, Oppo, Xiaomi, and Apple, respectively in the second quarter of 2020. China is definitely the market that carry Huawei shares during the US ban in the Trump era. Further core competency are the capability that are a source of competitive advantage for the company over its rival. Huawei first competency is at R&D, as you know that they invest a lot on this sector. Because of the inexpensive labor force in China, Huawei had an advantage over its international competitors. And in addition, Huawei integrate its marketing people into its R&D team. So the needs of telephone companies and service provider could be communicated through the market to the R&D department in the shortest time. Another core competence, which is Huawei had its close relationship with China military. This close relationship enabled Huawei to create a 1C network, which few other company or competitor could rivals, and which helped Huawei to secure big contract orders in its initial years and huge financial loan from the state bank. And the third one, Huawei products low price, have low price compared to its competitors. For example, as you can see in the picture, comparing with another two competitors in China market, we can see that for the model that have similar spec, Huawei is the one who has the lowest price. And yes, in summary, if Huawei can maintain these three core competencies in the long run, they will have a sustainable competitive advantage in the telecommunication equipment and smartphone market, with no doubt.
Thank you for your view. And thank you for your view, Employ. Finally, we have reached to the end of another episode of the Mission to the Greater China podcast. We also have a YouTube channel right now, so don't forget to subscribe and click the bell button in the bottom, so you'll not miss the upcoming episode of our podcast. Thank you for listening. Stay put.
Stay put.
Until we meet next time.
See you.